What's up, guys? We're in Pell City, Alabama. We're out in the country. I'm with Joe Turney, and today we're going to talk about buying houses out in the country. We're going to talk about this property that we're at right now that was just completely covered in garbage. The whole entire property was. But what we're going to start off with is I'm going to talk to Joe about his story, how he got into real estate, his business model from the time he got started until today is one that I recommend to almost anyone that I talk to who's trying to get started in real estate. So Joe, let's just pick up right there.
Okay.
Take me back to the very beginning before you even bought your very first investment property. Tell us where you were and how you got to maybe where you are today.
Well, where I was, it wasn't in a good place. So I think you and I actually got our license real close to the same time. Broke, divorced, negative net worth is a good way to say it. I owed more money on everything that I had than it was worth. My net worth was below zero. And at the same job for 15 years with no retirement plan. I was a contractor, no retirement, no end in sight. That's where we started.
So how do you even begin the journey of getting into real estate?
I didn't have, I didn't know there were groups like this that with free information. So I was in the dark totally. So I had 2 cents of instruction from a neighbor. He said, if you pay cash for houses, you'll get a discount and the banks will loan you 70% of what it's appraised for. That's my only training I had. And I didn't have any cash, so that was a problem. I said, well, if I worked hard for a month, I could come up with a few $100. But so they kind of tried to blow me off. They said, well, come back when you get some cash. So that's how they got rid of me.
This is just a friend or neighbor of yours
that was going to help me if I had cash. Yeah. I said, well, I would help you, but you don't have any money. So I did the only thing I know to do. I went and got a second full-time job. A second shift from 4 o'clock to midnight in the evening over in West Birmingham. And I did that for a year and I saved every penny of it. And I came back to that same guy a year later and I said, I got 60 grand. And he just looked at me like I dropped the bomb on him. He was like,
well, let's stop right there and I want to get to the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever even asked you this question because I've heard your story many times. But just what mentally, where you were, you just got to saying divorce, broke, negative net worth, and someone just kind of brushed me off. They said, if you have this, if you come back when you get some cash, and you're already in your what, mid 40s by that point?
43.
Yeah, 40, yeah. So at that point, it's like there's an element of desperation for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of folks, at least that I run into, that element of desperation often turns into, woe is me, I'm just going to keep going. So what was it? Do you know what it was that actually got you?
I can tell you exactly what it was. It was, we had my dad's 63rd birthday party. He's 20 years older than me. At the dinner table with him, we talked about going to Alaska. And it's something he had talked about since I was a kid. 30 years he's been talking about this. And he said, he's going to partially retire at the end of when he's 63, he can partially retire and we're going to be going at the end of that year. And 6 weeks later, he died from an aneurysm. Instantly. No, he wasn't even sick. And I just decided right then I was not going to die that way. I'm not going to die talking about things I want to do. I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't even really like real estate. I just wanted to not die talking about things I'm going to do one day.
So you went and got a second job, you saved up for a full year, and how much did you save? Because I know there's credit cards come into play, there's all this stuff. Take us through the point where you saved up and you come back to your friend.
I had roughly $55,000 in savings. I'd paid off some credit cards, and I got one of those 0% checks in the mail from a credit card. It was up to $10,000. Mm-hmm. So I put them together and I said, I have $65,000, which is enough then to buy a house. So, So he said, well, all right, let's go make an offer and start. And I bought a house within 5 days of that. I bought a house for cash. And then the next week after that, I went to Metro Bank and asked for a loan for $65,000. I got my money back. And a little light went off in my head. Like, I can do this. Like, I got the same money I had. Now I have a house and the money. And within a year, I'd done it 13 times. So I just do it over.
which now they call that the BRRRR method.
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time. I discovered that on Bigger Pockets, somebody teaching it, and I was like, hey, they stole my stuff, you know. Like
So the BRRRR method, the buy, we're going to renovate it, we're going to rent it out, and then we're going to refinance it. Did you renovate it and rent it out?
Yep.
And then you went back to the bank.
Yep.
And they put a mortgage on it. And you did it how many times the first year?
13 times.
And you've done it roughly how many times since then?
75.
So today, as we stand today, you have how many rental units?
We've sold a couple, so we only have about 70 now.
You have 70 rental units.
Yeah.
And you're doing about how many flips?
2 or 3 a year.
2 or 3 a year. So take us through the progression of, because at the height of it, you were doing a lot more flips than that.
Yeah.
Take us through the progression, because it's been, I guess, about 10 years now, right?
Yeah.
So take us through that progression of getting all these rentals and then doing the flips.
Well, rentals was always the end game because that's where retirement is. So that was no choice, no question. That's always the end game. But the challenge I run into, which most people do, is I want contractors available, I want subs available, I want workers available. And if you don't have work to give them, they go somewhere else. So I kind of started doing house flips to keep everybody employed, really. It's nice to have the bonus checks too, because sometimes I don't have to borrow all the money I put into how I can leave some money in it and have lower payments.
Why would you? Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Why would you?
Better cash flow.
Okay.
So that was it. Just mainly to keep everybody busy and employed. We don't really need it or for any reason. And I did come to a few seminars and got kind of pumped up and ramped up my flipping business. We were doing 7 or 8 at a time, and I was miserable. I was like, this is a full-time job. All I do is answer the phone and fix things and solve problems. It wasn't fun at all. Like I signed up for retirement. I didn't sign up for another job. So over the next year, I scaled that back down to 2 or 3 at a time. We normally have 1 or 2 waiting, 1 or 2 working, and 1 or 2 for sale. So we're only working on 2 at a time. And that's been pretty comfortable. It's pretty nice. So.
And I know we kind of joke about it now. So it's been about 10 years. It took you how long from the date you got the money and bought the first house? It took you how long to feel retired? I know you're not retired because you're still.
The day I quit my job was 2 years after that. 2 years later, I actually gave them 1 year in after I'd done 13 of them. I gave them a notice. I gave them a 1 year notice at my job. I said at the end, I'm figuring what year it was, 2014 or so. At the end of this year, I am quitting, and they all blew me off, and I burned the bridges. I said I'm not renewing any software. We're not renewing anything. Where I'm out at the end of this year.
So where are we today in 2025? I know you're not retired because you're actively involved somewhat, but you just got done telling me, I'll see this flip right now that's going on over here in Pellis. I'll see it once a month or something.
Yeah. I consider myself retired just because everything in my life is by choice now. So when you get to the point where everything's by choice, I kind of feel like other than just doing nothing, that's the only other the next lowest level is to do nothing.
Right.
I actually tried that for a year or so. It kind of sucked. It's like very boring, and it's like you get bored. You need to do something.
Well, Joe, with where we are today with interest rates, because it's a different environment than when you got started. Interest rates have obviously gone up. Housing prices have gone up, but rents have gone up too. Taxes have gone up. Insurance has gone up. So do you feel like it's still viable to do what you did today?
I still add 3 or 4 per year of BRRRRs every year. Yeah, I think so. You just got to get a better deal.
So how do we get a better deal, Joe? Teach us. Give us.
Buy stuff like this, where there wasn't another investor in the county wanted to touch this place because it was such a disaster. I mean, you just got to buy the junkers and fix them up. I mean, that's what my model is.
How do you?
You got to be willing to do stuff no one else wants to do.
How do you know if it's going to be a rental or a flip? Do you know that ahead of time, or is it depend on the numbers?
If our total investment is more than half of its value, then we're probably going to sell it. Because once you get over 50%, the rents are really tough to pay a mortgage and taxes and insurance. So we buy it for 30% of its value and renovate it to get a total in at 50%. We'll keep it.
Now, when you have 70 or so units or rentals, is it What's the goal? Is the goal to continue to refinance? Is the goal to get them paid off and let them cash flow? Now that you've been doing this for a little while?
There's really no, that's a weird question. I really don't have a written goal for that. This morning, that's the reason I'm in these closes. I took 4 of them that were paid off and put them in a big line of credit so that we can finance our own renovations and flips and things.
This is you getting dressed up?
Yeah, this is me dressed up. Yeah.
I was like, this is why I'm dressed here today.
I was like, well, I'm normally in rough clothes. So yeah. So the extra cash flow is really nice. I mean, it's when they pay off and you kind of start that snowball where you can pay double on the next one. And they all had 15-year mortgages, so they're all getting close to the end, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I do admit the new ones don't cash flow quite as well, but they still cash flow great from the first day. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go and take a tour of this property that nobody wanted out here in the country in Pell City. So stay tuned tomorrow. Come back, click it, and we're going to come and do a tour of this property. And Joe's going to show us what he's going to do at a property, how he gets it ready to flip a house out here in the country. See you tomorrow.